PiP podcast for episode 41. It is a guest episode, and very much to my surprise, there are two guests today. First, we have our good friend Zach.
Hello, everybody.
The actual guest.
The actual guest, and then my guest co-host.
Hello, everybody. It's me, Josh.
You can tell this is off to a real good start. Everything went as planned when you have a guest co-host. Everything went as planned.
Well, as well as you could plan it.
No, it didn't. Khalid may be joining us later or may not. I'm not quite sure. But
He may not. Who knows?
Man, that sure would be cool if that co-host showed up.
he probably fell asleep and then he hasn't woken up yet. He was doing a lot of stuff today, from what I know.
Fair. He got tuckered out, you know? He's a big boy. He had big boy things to worry about. Isn't that what it all boils down to, really?
It is. But I do have a question to start off with. Is there anything new in your life, Mr. Zach?
In my life, one thing I do find new, for some reason, the effect you use on the pod, like on the stream, it makes my avatar come through where it looks like I'm wearing like a football jersey, like a soccer jersey with or like a rugby jersey, maybe. I'm heading out for lacrosse. I don't know. It looks like I'm wearing like elbow pads, but really tiny ones, because it like fades out all the rest of the black in my. I don't understand what's happening in my avatar in this thing.
I know what's happening. I can tell you.
Well,
It's green screened.
Oh, okay.
So,
But why isn't it taking out the green in my shirt then?
Because the green screen is for the dark gray in the background of Discord.
Oh, I see. I gotcha. Oh, that actually makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Okay. See, I didn't dress appropriately, clearly, for the green screen concept. That was on me. I should have done some Photoshop editing there. I would have just thrown it all in very garish colors. It would have looked a lot worse, but it would have been really funny.
I didn't notice that until you pointed it out.
Well, now I hope that that's all anybody notices. I hope that's the only thing anyone.
Looking at it.
I need to grow my mustache back out. It looks really suave in that profile picture.
Ooh.
But I don't have hair anymore, so that's different from that profile picture.
Ooh.
But yeah, nothing new is going back. Nothing new is going on in my life since the last time I was on your podcast. I've started doing Uber to make money, or I'm fixing to start doing Uber as soon as I get my car inspected next week. And then I'm back with my ex-girlfriend, and then that's all of it.
That's awesome.
Well, thank you, friend.
So, with the Uber, are you also thinking about possibly doing like DoorDash or something?
I don't know how much you want me to blast a company on your podcast, but I would never recommend working for DoorDash or Postmates, even if your income depends on it sometimes. It just, the horror story I have from DoorDash is I was working for DoorDash in my city. They asked me to go and get a meal from a very nice restaurant that is very, very, very far towards the airport, we will say. It's far off from where I was. So that was like a 30-minute drive to get to the restaurant. When I get the food, the guy who I was getting it for calls me and tells me that he is angry that it took so long. Well, I said, I'm sorry, blah, 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 all that stuff you're supposed to say. So what ended up happening was I drove another 45 minutes to a hotel that he said he was staying at, that he had given me the address to and the room number to, but unfortunately that was the wrong hotel. His hotel was 20 more minutes away. So I call him and I say, hello, I have your food. Do you want your food? If you do not want your food, I will understand. I will call DoorDash on your behalf. We will settle this. What would you like to do? He said, I would not like to cancel anything. I just don't want to deal with it anymore. Hung up on me. Did not call DoorDash to cancel the order, which would have refunded him. Did not do any of that. So DoorDash calls me, asks me, like, where is the food? I say, well, shocker, I fucking have it because I picked it up and he didn't want it. So he never gave me his second address. So I never delivered it. By the way, this is about 30 minutes after that whole debacle ended. So they were like, well, you have to take it back to the restaurant. And I was like, what do you mean by that? By the way, I'm about 35 minutes from this restaurant. And they're like, you have to take it back to the restaurant and they have to dispose of it to like cancel the order. This is pretty early in DoorDash's history. I don't know if they've changed some of these policies. I imagine they have, or else no one would be working for them anymore. But this is pretty early on. And so anyway, I refused to do that. And then shocker, a few days later, I go to work one day and my account is banned or like canceled, shut down. Because they basically said I stole the food.
I do have a question about this.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. If he didn't call to do a refund,
yeah,
and you went to the address that he put in, technically it should have just said delivered, shouldn't it?
Yes, and what happened was I said that yes, it was delivered because I was at the address he had put in, but not the address he was at. So when I showed up there, I said it was delivered, and that's like, I guess he got notified that, yeah, because when you're on DoorDash, they get notified when the food is delivered. So I guess after he got that notification, then he decided to complain instead of calling them when I had told him, hey, clearly this isn't working, just call and cancel your order. And instead of doing that, he clearly didn't. And then when I accepted or I finished the delivery at his destination, then it essentially looked like I stole the food, which is why they fired me, basically. But that was not what happened, and I told multiple people at DoorDash that was not what was happening. So my point is, it's good money if you're like 19 or 20 and like just really love to get hammered every other night. Well, wait, not 19 and 20. If you're above legal drinking age and want to get hammered every night, then it's good beer money kind of stuff. Like, it's like, you know, you can make like $50 here or there on a Saturday night when you have nothing to do, but it's like
for legal purposes.
Yeah, for legal purposes. But it's like, in general, I would never, ever, ever recommend trying to make a living off DoorDash or Postmates. Now, Uber Eats, I don't know about. I personally am about to start working for Uber, so I can come back in a few weeks and give you a rundown of that as well. But
please do.
But in terms of Uber Eats and that kind of stuff, I can't speak. Or Grubhub, I've never worked for them either. But in terms of Postmates and DoorDash specifically, they are on a blacklist for me. Also, not to mention that Uber Eats is essentially buying out everything that Postmates is doing anyway. So, like, for instance, in my city, they've bought out like half the stores where it's like they do Uber Eats instead of Postmates. They still do DoorDash because DoorDash can't, like, DoorDash is competing with Uber Eats, but Postmates can't compete anymore, so they're getting bought out. So it's like, I don't recommend doing Postmates unless you live somewhere really, really crowded, like New York or LA or something.
Our friend Trey used to work for DoorDash, and I would ride with him because there's some areas where we live that are not the nicest.
Oh yeah, I always would take my girlfriend at the time with me when I was doing DoorDash. In fact, my girlfriend now, but at the time we were doing it together is what I meant. We were doing DoorDash together. She was always riding with me.
But I remember distinctly there was this one time he walks up to the door, and clearly, like, this is a nice house. Walks up to the door. He goes, instantly when he opened the door, it was just the smell of weed. Instantly. He's like, the guy looked stoned out of his mind, barely able to like hold the receipt right or something. Not the receipt, his phone. Yeah.
Hold the receipt. God. Here is your receipt, sir. Thank you for shopping with DoorDash. No, I've had some wild shit happen doing DoorDash. I've gone to a house before that had like no fucking roof because the hurricane a few weeks earlier had like torn it off. And it was like nothing but warning tape all around their house. And the dude was just like sitting on the front lawn waiting for his Taco Bell. I've had like a really large Russian dude in nothing but tidy whities open the door for me before. My girlfriend delivering for me before has had a girl open the door with like nothing but like, you know, like a night robe kind of on. It's like
Nice.
I've opened the door. I've had a guy open the door before and offer me a hit of weed. It's like I've had weird shit happen, but it's not common. It's not enough to make it interesting.
I would agree. Well, Josh, do you have any questions for our guest?
Yeah, since you knew I was gonna be on like, you know, 5 minutes ago and now you're here. Come on, co-host. Come on, co-host, do your best.
Really? Like, what have you just been doing in your downtime recently? Has it just been like the same old, or anything new popped up?
Well, I have mostly stopped drinking, which is nice. I have replaced that with other things that I can't legally talk about on the podcast. And other than that, though, I've just been playing a lot of video games, which is what I always do. I watch a lot of YouTube. I watch a lot more YouTube now than I used to. I watch a lot of like YouTube commentators like Danny Gonzalez, Drew Gooden, Eddie Burback, Gus Johnson, a lot of guys like that. And
Gus Johnson's so funny.
He is really fucking funny. But I've been watching a lot of commentary like that, and I've also been there's something that I have been watching with the intent of making fun of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like if I bring it up and people hear that I'm making fun of it, it would cause discourse. Maybe it's I will say it is related to the whole manosphere and red pill concept, right? I've been watching a podcast that deals with that from a very serious nature, and they say the most bizarre and out of world and hilarious and insane bullshit on it. And I it's highly entertaining, and a lot of nights I do just sit there for like 2 hours and watch them and just scratch my head and go, what the fuck, man? And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to just see. It's kind of like, you know, when you were like a teenager and you were like Googling faces of death, you know, and you were like, what's the goriest thing I could see on the internet? It's kind of like that, but from like a more mature mindset. It's kind of like, this is really horrible to watch, but God, it's entertaining. But anyway,
because I never did that. I joined Discord, and then Trey showed me 4chan.
Well, that's fair. Yeah.
So you've had your fair share of different things.
You're gonna
4chan enlightens everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of forums in general. I don't. Oh God. It's
I don't
just
like 4chan, but I'll go on there with Trey every once in a while, and we'll have like a contest to find like really messed up stuff or just like really comedic stuff. I know when Trey told me about the Beirut explosion, the very like legit, like it had to have been like an hour or two after it happened, I went to 4chan and all the videos of it were already on like a forum of 500 posts in 4chan.
Well, yeah, but that's also kind of the point of 4chan, right? Like that's kind of what it is. It's like a shock and awe kind of thing. It's almost like there was a website that preceded it, like back in the early 2000s.
4chan.
No. 2chan is the Russian 4chan. It's still a thing. I think it might have been shut down. Who knows? But there was something. There was Ebum's World. Was that what it was? Was it Ebum's World? There was some kind of like. There was two. There was like one for like really sexual stuff called like E-fucked or something like that. And then there was another one though that was for like gross, like graphic or like hyper comedic or like hyper surreal or whatever stuff. I think it was called Ebum's World, but I don't remember honestly because it's been so fucking long since I've even messed with any of that stuff. Like those websites specifically, it's just. In fact, I don't know if you clearly just clarified that eFuck still exists, but I don't know if Ebum's World exists at all anymore. Somebody somewhere probably knows what I'm talking about with that.
So I do know that you were talking about pathologic
Yeah.
earlier.
Mhm.
Can you talk about that again? Because you seemed very enthused about it, and it sounded very interesting.
Well, okay. You're talking about the first one though, right? Like not the sequel. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if Josh has heard of it either.
I can't say
So,
that I have.
so Pathologic on Steam, it's under like Pathologic Classic HD because it's I don't know why it's called Classic because to my knowledge, Pathologic Classic HD is just a remake of Pathologic or a remaster of Pathologic. So I don't really know what else that adds, but the point is there is this. It's made by a Ukrainian company called Ice Pick Lodge, and there is this disease hitting this kind of old. It's almost like obscure rural Ukrainian town.
It's called Pathologic, real quick.
Yeah, Pathologic.
Okay.
And the point is, you play as either a member of the community, and I honestly never completed his run, so I can't give you a backstory of that, but you play as a member of the community or as a doctor who is trying to cure the plague hitting the town. But it's really hard to explain. It's literally, it's a very psychological horror experience.
Is it
where
Classic HD? Is what you said?
Yeah, Pathologic Classic
Okay.
HD. That's it. Yeah. But it's a very surreal psychological horror feeling. It's very similar to David Lynch's movies, or if anybody's seen like Day Watch or Night Watch, which are kind of cult classic Russian sci-fi movies, they're all kind of playing into the same thing. Of it's just this kind of, it's like everybody seems like they're existing in their own world, where it's like nothing really feels congealed, but it's meant to feel that way. And so in doing that, they create this really surreal atmosphere where you have no idea who's on whose side, who knows what about what, and it is not like a murder mystery kind of feeling. It's more of a you'll never know kind of feeling.
Yeah, because I was asking you to look it up on Steam. I really like the art style that I'm seeing so far, and then the features. It's saying like 12 days in a plague-ridden town.
Yeah.
Time is running out. Numerous events unfold, and whether you're there to witness them or not.
Yeah, that's another thing about the game is it is all timed. You can literally spend, well, you have to eat, so actually you can't spend the whole game standing in one spot. But in theory, it's like you can spend the whole day just standing in one spot and keeping yourself what's
Neutral?
the word? No, what when you're eating with nutrition, it's called there's a word. I don't know. Fuck it. Giving yourself nutrients. Sure, we'll say that because that's not what I was looking for. But I don't think the word was even nutrients. So, but the thing is, it's like nourished. Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
They're keeping yourself nourished, and then it's like you could literally have the whole game basically occur around you. So it's very interesting in that, but it is also very frustrating in that where it's like you do have to make decisions every playthrough of like what you're doing, what you're going to interact with, and it's like the more effort you put in, the more time you put into one task, it's like the more it takes away from the opportunities to mess with other things. And the whole time you're there, the infection is getting worse. So it's like characters do die, characters are killed, and they do die of the infection. And it's like they can be very vital characters to the story. So it's like if you didn't get to them first and they died of the infection, then it's like you basically have to start over because you're going to be missing massive portions of the information you need. That being said, once you beat the game with, I think, either of the first two characters you can play as, you get to play as a third character that has some kind of supernatural force and some sort of supernatural power to her existence. And I'm told, and I have seen through playthroughs, that is a very fun character to play as. It really makes the game a lot more fun. But I have never beaten the second storyline, so I've never played as her. There's my final spiel.
Your final spiel.
My final spiel.
Leave. You're forbidden from talking to. I'm just kidding. Do you have another thing to lead off with, Josh?
How's the band project going? I remember listening to the podcast before and hearing you and even talking with you during our fantastic sessions of Phasmophobia and doing your music.
My music is going very well. I have several tracks that I have recorded, and I am still fucking with. Basically, I want to make my music. I don't want to make it like a comeback because I was never there in the first place. But it's like when I get back to music, I want to put out something that like I actually am like have put a lot of time and effort into. So it's like, it's kind of making me overthink it though in a lot of ways, where I keep recording for like days and then I'll like look at it and then I won't record for a month because I'm just like, well, that all came out awful. And then it's like, I don't know, it's kind of stagnated, but I actually do right now have a few new songs that I have on my computer that are supposed to be releasable in their current state, but I'm still probably going to end up messing with them for a little bit before I put them out. But I am hoping to put them out soon because I'm planning on bringing my YouTube channel back soon, which is actually why me and Cody were talking about Pathologic, is because I'm planning to bring it back with Pathologic 2. And then that way, when I bring my playthroughs back, I want to bring my music back as well.
That's awesome.
Well, thank you, friend.
Is there any questions you would like to ask us?
Oh, shit.
Exactly.
I'm so sorry, guys. I dropped something.
No problem.
Let me think. Well, obviously, it always comes back to music. So what is everyone listening to right now?
Do you know Delta Sleep, the band?
I do not, but I will look it up.
I guess they are. I want to make sure this is correct right now, but I would really kind of put them in math rock type of genre.
Yeah. So it comes up when I Google them, essentially. So
yeah, and they have an album called Twin Galaxies. Fantastic album, I have to say. I've listened to it. Yesterday, day before yesterday, and I have to say, like it's in, I say, my top 20 albums, most definitely.
Well, that's
maybe
awesome.
Top 10.
I found the album on YouTube, so I'm going to save it to my watch later, so I can get a grasp of Delta Sleep Twin Galaxies.
Because that one, especially if you look at some of their song titles, it's very kind of like watery, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
So very good. Otherwise, in music, for me at least, let me get on my Spotify. Been listening to a lot of Minus the Bear, more math rock type of deal.
Oh, Minus the Bear? Wait. Yeah, I know them. They have a song that I used to really like called Nights. Yeah.
Yes, that's a good song. Yeah,
they have a song called Nights I used to really like. And I think it was their second or third album, which had Nights on it, like El Minus Oso or whatever. Yeah, that was just a really good album as a whole.
Oh yeah, I know Minus El Oso. Yes, most definitely. Another band called the Jeb Bush Orchestra.
I think my girlfriend has listened to. Maybe it's just a band with a really kind of outlandish similar name.
Well,
but
if she has listened to them, she's a woman of culture. I'll tell you that right now.
Oh, it's just yeah.
They are a folk, like a funk band. Really good. The name's just for giggles. It's apolitical. They don't have anything to deal with Jeb Bush, other than their name being the Jeb Bush Orchestra, which is kind of funny for me. I like to groove out to them, and then I really just been getting into like some post grunge stuff, like Stone Temple Pilots, Alice in Chains, Temple of the Dog.
Fair. I can fuck with some Alice in Chains. I'm not a huge Stone Temple Pilots fan, but Stone Temple Pilots fall into that category with Tool and Velvet Revolver, where I'm like, I think I should like them, but I just really don't. It's like I everything about their sound, and Nirvana also falls into that. Like, for instance, I'm a huge Pearl Jam fan, but I don't like Nirvana at all. And it's like, I'm a big Bush fan. I'm big into Alice in Chains. There's some other Pantera I'm big into. But it's like, in general, I don't know. Some of that grunge stuff, I'm just not into it. And I don't know. Faith No More is a grunge band that I really liked.
Yeah. See, you mentioned something like Pearl Jam. Like,
Yeah.
For me, that's Pearl Jam. Like, I should like Pearl Jam. I'm sorry, Eddie Vedder, man. When he's singing with Pearl Jam, like some of his solo stuff, phenomenal work. But like when he's singing with Pearl Jam, I'm like, dude, come on, this is nothing.
It's a lot of wailing, a lot of very angry wailing. What about you, Oni? What has your music been leaning towards right now, friend?
Well, I've been, because of the things going on with the Game Grumps recently, they have been trending, and so Ninja Sex Party was trending, and so I finally got a chance to listen to those, like that sort of, I wouldn't say album, just music. There's one particular one that's been stuck in my head all week, and it's Welcome to My Parents' House. It's really funny.
I do know that song. My favorite Ninja Sex Party song is definitely Dragon Slayer.
Okay.
That's a good one.
That's my favorite one.
The music video for that,
Phenomenal.
Me and Trey were watching it, and it directly describes Trey's D&D characters. And I'm going to explain why.
Grogmar, yes.
No, it does not explain Grogmar. It explains Gion.
Gion? I don't know.
Gion has no charisma whatsoever. And so that's who Danny plays in like the music video. He's like, that's legit just Gion. And then when he says he's a dragon slayer, well, my character in D&D, in Khaled's game, because he DMs for me and all of like our other friends, and then I DM a different group of Josh and Trey. Trey's still in that group. He's in both. So Nazir, which is my character, took Gion to an ancient red dragon. And I like to think that in Gion's mind, he slayed the dragon. And because in that scene, Ninja Brian is just standing there all chill. I like to think that's Nazir, and then like Gion's imagining all this. In the most recent session, Gion got a coin that allows like a unicorn to come out and give him safe travel. And they're riding a unicorn in that whole battle, right?
Well, the good news is, if you think about it like this, I don't know what inevitable, probably dictator I'm quoting here, but humans are just a tool for a greater purpose. So really, when you think about it, Nazir would be the one as the tool. He wouldn't be, he the true slayer would be the one that took you to the cave and used you to kill the dragon. After he did that, because he took you there. Exactly.
Well, the thing is that they didn't kill the dragon; they were just talking with it. But the best part was that in the lyrics he goes, "In another life, I'm in a band," and that refers to Grogmar, which is his bard character in my session where I DM. And it's just funny how like you can just relate it to Trey's characters. It's really hilarious.
I will say,
well, I have a few more things. So after that, I've been listening to a bunch of like ambience for like caves and stuff like that. It's not really music, but it gets the job done. And then just a bunch of like pop music. So like Max, just whatever is popular at the time.
Fair. That's fair. I listen to a lot of background Star Trek noise when I'm like really insomniatic and I like can't sleep very well or whatever. I'll like put on like YouTube and like where it's just like Star Trek engine hum for 4 straight hours, and it's like cool. I'll stare at the ceiling while that plays. That feels somewhat like sleep.
going back to Ninja Sex Party, I think my favorite. I'm sorry, Jacob said it, and y'all were talking about your favorite song, and my favorite song by them is "Next to You." He's just singing how he'll be right through. Like he basically goes with this girl, asks her out, she says no. He's like, "All right, that's cool. I'll still be by your side, next to you." Masturbating.
Yes, I love that fucking song.
And then
I haven't even heard that song.
oh,
Now
you have to listen to it, because midway through the song, he goes, "I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it for America." And I'm like, "Amen, brother. Amen."
Hallelujah. We're all blessed.
Mm-hmm. And it's just like because like there's like a drum roll and like trumpets and everything. It's like a tear forms on your eye. This truly is God's country.
Oh man. Jesus died for this. Hallelujah.
So great.
So Ninja Sex Party and Brian Eno. That's what you've been listening to, Odie. I got you. Good Lord.
In other news, other than just music, because I think you'll find this interesting. Our friends all moved in together. So our friend Trey moved into a house that he bought, and our other two friends are staying in 2 bedrooms there. They're paying rent, which is good for my friend because he's paying like double off of his mortgage with everyone paying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, they have like a little shed, and my best friend Noah uses that shed to like just build stuff in. And I'm like, cool. Well, he approached me and was like, "Yo, we should start streaming us just like sitting here building things like out of leather and everything, do like not like a talk show, but just like a crafts stream." And I was like, cool. So my old microphone actually went over there. A microphone arm was on sale for like $10, so I picked that up. So we got like a whole studio microphone over there. I can use the GoPro for like a top-down camera, the laptop webcam to show us. And then we just been chilling. And then also over there, we're going to be doing like cooking streams and stuff. I think I told you that.
Yeah, you did. You did.
But all these materials, since they're staying over there in the shed, it's so much easier than having to take everything with me.
Yeah, for sure. Yes. Although I will say, I really like this concept. And if I can interject, right? I think it should be... Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Fucks and Crafts. I'm here, Odie, and we're going to show you how to make an 18-inch giant cock out of nothing but a cowhide and 10 pounds of rebar. Let's go.
Cowhide and 10 bars of rebar?
Yep.
All right.
But they're going to make it work. That's their first.
Basically, what you're telling me is to throw some outlandish thing out there before we start streaming at the start of every episode.
I mean, honestly... That's what I plan to do on my own podcast that I plan to start soon, that I'm still working on because we're behind on something, but we're behind on the art. We're behind on the art. We don't have the art. Anyway, don't worry about it.
Art, what does it mean?
I need my art. But no, actually, yes, kind of, but for comedic effect if you wanted to, but also I was just making a joke, and I was saying that you shouldn't just make your whole podcast about making outlandishly large sexual organs out of different pieces of material that fans would not be encouraged to make at home.
We probably won't actually make them, but I will. Josh, take notes. Don't tell Noah about it.
Josh, get the notebook.
What am I taking notes on?
Don't tell Noah what Zach just said, because I'm going to catch him off guard when I say it, because he's not going to be expecting it.
Okay, yes. Cool.
You know,
Roger.
I'm just saying, this Noah guy, right? You're planning on making a podcast with him, but he can't even be here at this podcast.
No, that's not even different guy.
What?
What?
Well, no, I know it's a different
He's
guy.
not-
I'm just saying he's not even watching.
Oh yeah.
So if Noah's that reliable, I really think he needs to step up. And if he can't, I'm willing to drive to Virginia and learn woodworking in order to make this work. I'm not crazy. I'm willing to make this happen. I'm not crazy. Please clap.
Oh, wait a second. You're in Georgia, aren't you?
Alabama.
Alabama. That's right. Would the storm
My
still have
sister's in
affected you?
The storm that just hit.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, it rained for like hell for a while, and which sucked too because I work outdoors. So
Was it as bad as? Because I want to say like Georgia got hit real bad.
it was really bad, but down here it's never actually as bad as everyone else hears about. If that can make any sense, it's
Yes.
like some places the city lost power for like 10 minutes, and then it was like a power line, like a power pole fell over or something. It's like it wasn't like a thing where it was like we got hit by this massive hurricane or anything like that. It just rained. It actually, the winds weren't all that bad. It just rained for a really long time. Like we did get like, I think in one day we did get like 6 inches of rain maybe. And then I know we got 4 inches the next day. So it's like, that's 10 inches in 2 days. So that does a lot of damage, but it's not, I mean, we're all fine.
Gotcha.
No, you can move to Virginia. We'll do that.
That'd be hilarious.
So, was I going? I had another question lined up, and as soon as I said so, it just vanished.
That happens to me a lot. That's kind of just my day-to-day life.
Oh. So, with your podcast, are you going to have me on as a guest?
Absolutely. We plan to have guests.
We're going to raid your podcast.
Oh, of course. Yeah, it's actually going to be, it's not really going to be, I would like to have you on for sure, but it's not really going to be like a video game thing. It's both myself and my best friend. She and I are going to start the podcast, and it's literally just going to basically be about talking about like all of our life trauma as in a way. And just kind of going through like different stories, different good moments in life, different bad moments in life. It's almost kind of like intended to be like a therapy for the two of us. But also we think that together we will be able to formulate some coherent thoughts that people can take from it to get something that will help them in their life going forward. So we think that combining those two things, rather than just playing a video game and complaining to each other all the time, we figure we should create a podcast where we complain about life together for other people.
That is a good and excellent idea. I will say, I would love to be on the podcast.
I literally thought you're going to be like, my interest in the podcast is waning.
No, but I do not have trauma. I create the trauma.
I don't know. Maybe that's probably better
I'd say-
phrasing there. Maybe,
No, I'd say that's accurate. That's accurate.
I don't.
That's
God.
accurate.
Well, we all create havoc in our own way.
You should look at my D&D players after like 5 sessions. Every 5 sessions, there's like a mind break about to happen.
You know what? I never thought about that before. Yeah, you're right.
Now I feel bad that Colin's not here because I feel like he would have enjoyed this podcast.
He most definitely would have laughed at that.
Well, sometimes life's not about the opportunities you enjoy. It's about the opportunities you miss, And then you just spend the rest of your days looking back on those missed opportunities and thinking of sadness and wondering, well, where did I go wrong? How could I not have fixed that? Why was that so important to me that I forgave this opportunity and I was not truly happy? And when I look back, I could have been truly happy. And when I think he does that, he'll probably cry a little bit to himself, and it'll be a very emotional and overwhelming experience for him, but he'll ultimately come to an acceptance that he missed out on what could have been the greatest moment of his life.
Possibly.
Possibly. I mean, also, he could just be having a great fucking time doing whatever he's doing and not care at all. But
If I had to guess, he's laying on like his couch with his cat on his chest,
Asleep.
just sleeping. Yeah.
yeah, that's fair. That is fair.
You really can't beat that, to be honest.
Yeah, you can't argue with that.
That is kind of living the life in a way.
Mm-hmm.
The cat chooses him and then also shotgun sneezes in his face.
Yeah, okay, I could see that.
So, what? Okay. You told me about your old microphone and how it's broke. I did walk away for a second. Did you did you ever say how it actually got broke, or do you not?
Oh well, I don't know yet. It's not. The thing is, it's not broken. There's just some kind of problem with the input cable that I have for it. But I tried 2 other input cables, so I think it's something wrong with its input jack or its output jack. I mean, so I can get it looked at, and I could probably fix it for like $15. But I've just been lazy and poor, so I haven't gotten around to it. So I've been using my backup mic.
Well, if you do look in the new microphones, I would definitely recommend the Wave 3 from Elgato, just to say.
Fair.
It's very lightweight, and it does it has an anti-clipping mechanism in it. So no matter how loud I yell, it won't clip.
Yeah, well, I don't normally have a clipping issue because with my setup, when I'm normally recording or when I'm streaming, I'm running my microphone. Like, I'm not doing it right now, but I'm running my microphone through Fruity Loops. So it's like it runs through Fruity Loops and through OBS. And then that way, Fruity Loops will go ahead and add like the compression and the noise gate. And I can do all that kind of mixing and stuff right from the desktop right there. And so that's like the a lot of microphones that have clipping issues and stuff, it can be fixed a lot easier with the digital workstations.
Jesus, I looked up Fruity Loops.
Yeah,
because you were recommending digital workstations to me.
That's a good cereal.
That's a lot of stuff on that screen.
Yeah. There's a lot to it. It's also highly expensive. I would not recommend it if it's going to be your first time ever using a digital workstation. But if you're using a digital workstation for music, I highly recommend it as your first because it does have an immense amount of options, and it's especially for what it costs compared to some other things. But it to me is the best, and it has so many VST plugins that you can get and stuff to add music and stuff, and different compressors and different effects, and you can add basically like almost every plugin that you can imagine you can add to it. Essentially, it's pretty open and stuff, so I highly recommend it for music. However, if you were using it as a digital workstation to mix and like master like just your broadband audio, like what you're putting out right now, then it's like I would recommend something first off cheaper, but also something else simpler. Mm-hmm. Like something even like GarageBand would work fine for that kind of concept if you like knew what you were doing with it, if you watched some tutorials and stuff.
You somehow reminded me that I used to be friends with like all of the band kids, and this is very reminiscent of like the conversations I used to have with them. But now I think about it and I'm like, man, I don't talk to any of those people anymore.
You're like, man, I remember why I didn't want to hear this.
No, you're a lot cooler than like any of them. So,
well, that makes up for it a little bit, I suppose.
You were the only nice person we met on Pulsar, and you actually thought that Josh was my son.
That's fair. Wonderful. Fair. I mean, you know, you had a beautiful relationship. Who was I to step in the way?
Said our relationship was beautiful, isn't that right, son?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It's very true.
Don't talk like that. You're acting weird. Do you play any like Dragon Quest games?
Dragon Quest? Fuck. I've
Or
yeah.
played.
any like sort of RPG games like that, turn
No,
based?
I remember. Oh my gosh, Jacob. Yeah, please. I want you to continue this because I heard this on Tuesday's podcast, and it made me really excited when you said that.
Okay, but backtrack. What were you asking me, Jacob?
Have you ever played any Dragon Quest games or like turn-based RPG games?
I mean, I played a lot of turn-based JRPGs. Yeah.
Okay. Do you think those games would be good to stream?
I think that depends on the game, because it depends on the pace of the combat. For instance, there's games like Record of Agarist War that has very high-paced combat, where it goes really quickly and then you're on to the next conversation where it's keeping there's something engaging to it. When it comes to something, and I'm not necessarily saying Dragon Quest, because my experience with Dragon Quest was there was a Dragon Quest on the Xbox 360 I played, and then there was a Dragon Quest on the Nintendo Switch I played. And then I've played Dragon Quest Builders, which I like a lot, but that's not relevant to the main game. But yeah, I would say it's like when you get into the grindy parts of that, it's like you got to find something that would kill dead air essentially. But it's like outside of that, because it's like a lot of those games do have a lot of parts where you're ended up just kind of doing fetch quests, MMO style in a way. And some of them have gotten better about that. I have not played any of the more recent Dragon Quest, so I can't speak to how they handle that. But I played one that came out during like the base life of the Switch, I think, and then I played one on the 360. And I played when I was a child. I played some of them on the like SNES. But I mean, yeah, it's like basically I think as long as you think you can make it entertaining, then it's worth streaming. It's like if it's something that you think is going to be fun for you to play, then it's going to be more fun for people to watch than you streaming something just for the sheer sake of streaming it. So if you stream something that is more fun to watch, then you will in turn make it more fun yourself or stream something that's more fun for you to play, then you will in turn make it more fun for people to watch because you will be more invested and you will have more excitement. You'll have more to say, you'll have more input and more activity with the game itself. So I think that's really more of the way to look at it, where it's like, it doesn't really matter the genre. It's like, that's just kind of true of everything. And so it's like, there would definitely be downtime in a game like Dragon Quest or just really any JRPG that does do the random encounter turn-based kind of stuff. It's like there's going to be downtime in that, but I think that if you can just kill the downtime with excitement for the game, or like, you know, excitement for whatever your goal at the moment in the game is, then I think if you can kill that downtime with excitement, then it all balances out, so it doesn't really matter.
Well, I think what Josh is waiting for, I think Josh is waiting to hear what Dragon Quest I've been thinking about playing. I really enjoy Dragon Quest. I'm either going to play. There's three that I'm thinking of. I gotta look up.
I am in suspense.
So I'm either gonna mooch off of Josh's Steam and play his Echoes of an Elusive Age Dragon Quest.
That's the newest single player one. Yeah, that's a good one.
Is it the newest one?
I'm pretty sure it is. Let me look at my Steam library.
Either way, I've been thinking about that one. I'm not quite sure because I like the aspect of it not being 3D. That's just my opinion. So,
You saying it not being 3D?
Yeah.
No, it's a 3D game.
No, I said I like the aspect of it not being 3D. That's why I'm not trying to play that one.
Okay.
Because
which one are you not trying to play?
The one I just named. Like, I'm thinking about playing it, but I don't really want to play it because it is 3D.
Yeah.
Because I
I
was
kind
see
of want
one.
to play a DS one, like Sentinels of Starry Sky.
That's
or
a fantastic
the other
one. What was the other one?
Probably the sequel to Sentinels of Starry Sky.
Oh, that was 10, and that was an MMO one. I want to say
What, Sentinels of Starry Sky?
Sentinel Sorry Sky was 9. 10 was a MMO, I do believe.
Possible. Probably right. But there's another one that I think comes after Starry Sky. It's like another single player. I'll find it.
I will say they did. I will say for 11. Now that you mentioned that, I want to say the DS version of it is 2D.
I'm thinking about VI for some reason.
Ooh, 6. That's a
I
good
don't know
one.
why I said sequel to Starry Sky. The Sentinels of Starry Sky and Realms of Revelation are the two that I like the most.
6 is really good. I will say my favorite one is 8. 8's phenomenal, but that is a 3D one. Oh,
It's like I might play them, but I started playing on the DS, and
Yeah.
that's why those other two are my favorites.
get you. 5 is really good. That they also have a DS version for 5.
I will look into it. I think they're actually remaking Sentinels of Starry Sky for the 3DS.
Oh my god, amazing!
But
Wait, why 3DS? Why not the Switch? Or is that
I
what
don't
you
know.
mean?
It could be Switch, but I'm not quite sure. It was teased in 2019.
Have you played the spin-off series Dragon Quest Monsters Joker?
No.
Ooh, that's a fun one too. You recruit the monsters in the Dragon Quest universe as your teammates, and they fight other monsters. You can
That
like
sounds
combine
big
them.
dumb.
I'm sorry.
I was joking.
But no, 5 was really cool because you play through 3 lineages type of deal. You play as your main character as a child, then he grows up, and then your main character has kids, and then you play as your kid.
Is it like Record of Agorist or where you get to like pick who you're having the kids with and stuff, and it like affects?
Yes. In the original NES version, I think it was NES. I want to say there was only 2 people you can choose between, but in the remakes for the DS and whatnot, they added a third one. And like
another very similar game that plays like that is called Romance Saga, or just the Saga series in general.
I've heard about that.
They play exactly the same like that, where you are playing as the main character and then you ultimately marry and kind of have like almost like a dynasty.
And like it depends. And also affects your kid's stats. Like one of the girls you can marry, like if you marry her, your kids will have like really high attack stats. Whereas another one, they'll have really high like magic abilities.
Yeah, so it is like Record of Agorist or something like that. Yeah, so I like that a lot though, actually.
Yeah, 5 was really cool.
That reminds me of Fable 3 for some reason. The having kids part.
Oh yeah. That is a game series I have played Fable 1. I have played Fable 3. I have not played Fable 2, and I cannot find Fable 2 anywhere, whether for PC or for Xbox, because I still have a 360, and I've heard Fable 2 is like the best one.
Fable 2 is basically the best one. Fable 3, in my opinion, was an abomination, but that's just an opinion. But Fable and Fable 2 are both fantastic. The Fable Platinum Edition, where it includes the expansion, with it, even on the Xbox version, which I think was like originally like one of the first pieces of DLC released, the expansion for Fable. But if you get that on the Xbox 360, that's fantastic. And the Fable 2 on the 360 is also fantastic.
Yeah.
But no, you go on.
No, I was agreeing with you. Yeah, that's what I've heard, but I haven't found Fable 2 anywhere.
Fable 3 came out free for like the 360 at one point.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Now, I played that one run through, and I already knew that by the end of it, I wasn't going to have the angel wings because I had heard at the end, regardless of what you promised, you could turn down the offers you made to the people.
Yeah, you can.
And you can't.
You can.
You cannot assume how much serotonin
Oh.
I made by just saying, yeah, nah, you good. I'm going to say no to this.
Because he's a piece of crap.
I went through that whole game telling like everyone what they wanted to hear in that game, and then at the end of it was like, nah.
Meanwhile, I scrimped and saved every penny and personally poured my own money into the coffers to save everyone.
I was a little bit of both my first playthrough, and nobody really cared about me at all in a dislike or favorable way.
How do you feel about the new king? So, what made Fable 3 horrendous to you?
Well, for one, Peter Molyneux's a psychopath. There's really not a way around it. He's just kind of crazy, and I love him. I love the games he makes. I love.
Didn't he do like the mobile game, like the Cube, where you had to like unlock the cube or whatever?
I do actually believe he might have done that, but we're gonna ignore that for a second. And I will Google that on the side. But he made Fable. He made Black and White. I believe he made God's Hand. Maybe not. But Black and White's fantastic, like RTS game where you play a god who like starts his own race and then you watch them like win. And
isn't there like a cow in that, like that gives you instructions?
I don't know off the top of my head. It's been years since I played one, but I do remember loving those games. But one little thing about Peter Molyneux that I would like to say, since you brought up Fable, is he was the one behind the well-known, or forgotten, I should say, Project Milo. And for those of you who don't know what Project Milo is, I'm going to tell you a story. Way back in like 2006, I want to say, maybe 2007, when the Xbox 360 had just come out and was taking over the market, Xbox decided they were going to make a motion controller. That motion controller was called Project Nepal. Project Nepal eventually became the Xbox Kinect. Project Nepal sounds a lot cooler because it was a lot cooler in concept. And what Project Nepal was going to be able to do is that it was going to be able to recognize facial features. It was going to be able to recognize body language, the way you moved, the way you behaved. It was going to be able to use that in video games. What they originally launched to show that off was something called Project Milo, or Hello Milo, actually, I think it was called. And what they ended up doing with Hello Milo was, it was a child who was about 9 to 11 years old, and he was British because Peter Molyneux is British. And I'm using this as an example to kind of show why Peter Molyneux is kind of crazy, because he really forces this weird like bonding with children thing in all of his games. And Project Milo never launched because it could not possibly have existed. And the reason it could not possibly have existed is because it relied on AI technology and facial recognition technology that just straight up didn't exist back then and mostly doesn't exist now. So Project Milo, though, what its fault was is that it promised so much, right, for Project Nepal and for the Kinect, that when it ultimately failed, you can basically blame the failing of the Kinect on Peter Molyneux, because, granted, he was promised a lot more than he actually got in terms of what the technology could do and what could happen. And so when it all boiled down to it, everybody just sucked. But with Peter Molyneux, it's just funny because you can basically just blame him for the failing of the Kinect, because when the Kinect actually came out and they were like, oh, nothing that we saw with these Milo things and none of that's happening. Where's that? And it's like, when that was just missing, it's like everybody immediately was like, oh, well, this just kind of sucks. It's just really lame motion controls. And it's like, that's what it always was to begin with, but it had been hyped up to a point of way beyond what it was even capable of, much less what anybody had actually developed for it. In conclusion, Peter Molyneux is the reason the Kinect failed. Moving on.
I like how you give those too long didn't read versions of your rant.
Well, I imagine people zone out during them, so I'm okay with that. I just want to re-clarify the point. It's like you put the thesis in the middle of the beginning, you put it at the end, and then there you go.
Oh wait, I know something, because you played Vampire the Masquerade, right?
I played both the tabletop World of Shadows and I've played Vampire the Masquerade
Bloodlines. Yeah, that's one of all just popped in my head. So I don't know if you heard, but Bloodlines 2, they
moved to a different company again.
Yes,
the third development team on this game.
Like the publisher or whatever it is, still the same. They're just moving development.
Yeah, and it's really ironic because they're published, like one of my favorite development companies, actually. They're published by Paradox, who make Imperator Rome and Hearts of Iron, Crusader Kings, all that kind of stuff. And it's like I have like 1,300 hours of Crusader Kings 2. I haven't played as much Crusader Kings 3 because, frankly, I don't have a computer chair. So, for instance, right now I'm currently sitting on what is equivalent to a bar stool to do this. So I haven't been playing much computer games lately. But yeah, they make a lot of really good games. So I was really hyped when they took over publishing rights, and then they've switched developers 2 times already now. So things aren't looking great for this. I mean, to be fair, Troika Games, when they made Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, I think they were already going bankrupt. Don't quote me on that. I
want to say I heard that too. Yeah.
But
it was a last ditch effort, and then EA just kind of, or whoever was publishing, I think it was EA, just kind of nail and coffin.
Yeah, and so it was like when it failed, which it did because it was massively broken because they released it far too early because they didn't have time to fix all the things because they were going bankrupt. When all of that happened, it was like, that is basically what you got there, and then fans over time fixed it, and now it's like, for instance, if you buy the game on GOG, by the way, if you want to buy Vampire the Masquerade Bloodline, buy it on GOG, don't buy it on Steam, because if you buy it on GOG will auto-install the unofficial patch. If you buy it on Steam...
Oh, are you serious? It will.
That is what I've heard. I have it
on Steam.
I own it on Steam, and I have the unofficial patch installed.
Same here.
But I have heard that if you own it on GOG, it installs an unofficial patch for you. I've also heard of Fallout 3. If you do that, which is why if you get Fallout 3 on GOG and not on Steam, it'll run even on Windows 10 and stuff. If you get it on Steam, it won't run without patches. And so if you get it on GOG, though, it base runs. So at least in a very, very high percentage of cases. I'm sure there are outliers, but in my experience personally, it runs perfectly fine.
That's another weird game for me, Fallout 3. I love it, but it's a first-person game, and when you aim down sights, you don't aim down sights. It's just like a weird third-person, first-person zone.
Literally, well, granted, if you got it on the PC, if you were to buy it on GOG for let's say, you can actually get a mod that changes that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but yeah, that is a really weird concept. I don't know what their idea was there, because it's like, here's the thing. Even if you were to factor it into, like, it's Bethesda, they hadn't made like a first-person shooter before. It's like, okay, but they made like fucking in Oblivion, for instance, and in like Morrowind. Well, actually, I don't know about Morrowind, maybe not. But in Oblivion, for instance, which they made, I believe, before Fallout 3. Yeah, I'm gonna say before Fallout 3. It's like they actually have like the bow and arrow, and like if you aim, you aim down the bow and arrow, and it's like, so they already knew.
Morrowind's the same way.
Yeah. So it's like, I don't know why for that they were like, yeah, if you're aiming a bow, you want to look down the arrow and you want to see where you're aiming. But if you're aiming a gun, you just kind of want to put your head next to the gun and just kind of get a good angle of what you're looking at.
You want to look at it sideways.
Get it from a few different angles.
I
Just to make
wish.
sure you're
It's a kill
picking
shot.
the best shot.
It's a kill
It
shot.
was, especially because I had it on the 360 first, Fallout 3. So
Ooh.
and it was
Yeah.
after,
That's right.
I know,
First.
playing Modern Warfare, stuff like that. So playing from
Basic.
exactly playing from and obviously an FPS, then switching to Fallout. Because I played 3 after I played New Vegas too. Let me mind you. Such a weird thing, because in New Vegas you aim down sights easy, but in 3 it's just like and it's like this is a weird adjustment.
New Vegas to me is a better gameplay or a better game story universe options wise, but it is a mechanically inferior game to Fallout 3, and that is because it was made by a different company. So
I can see that. All I can say is New Vegas 2 might be coming out. One can cross fingers and hope, because both Bethesda and Obsidian are now under Microsoft. So,
well, that's fair. Yeah, I never really thought about that. Now
It's
that
an Xbox exclusive.
that would fucking suck. I hope they at least
because I don't know though, dude. That's going to be I will say for that they have said they will release the stuff to PC as well.
yeah,
Is that-
well, obviously because it's like
Yeah.
Windows. So
But that's what gets me. It's like these games have such a long running and they make so much money.
yeah,
So
I really
you
I
go
would
to
be
like
surprised.
it's such a weird decision to make, like the Elder
Bethesda
Scrolls and
did
the Fallout
say-
series.
Bethesda
I know they did
the
say,
other day that they would be doing like exclusives.
yeah.
Yeah.
I just find it odd if they would make the Fallout and Elder Scrolls series exclusives. That will be a surprise to me if they do that.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like I could definitely see Bethesda doing exclusives
Mhm.
now for like Microsoft that are just Xbox and PC, but I think to take the IPs of Elder Scrolls and Fallout off of the PlayStation market or even the Switch, now that it's like shown that it can at least
Mhm.
handle it can handle an enhanced Skyrim, so it can handle something. So, you maybe just retrograde those graphics a little bit and throw in on that too. But it's like to lose those sales, I agree with what you're saying, Josh, that it's like that's an immense amount of money.
It's insane, and it'd be dumb on Microsoft's part, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely, because it's like they're not like at best. It's like if Microsoft, for instance, or if Bethesda was going to be the publisher, which I believe they technically are the publisher, if they were to make a New Vegas, they would in turn be working for Microsoft. They would in turn sell the rights to. I don't know how it all works, but I think they would sell the rights for Sony to put the game onto their console. And so in theory, it's like even if you're Microsoft, it's like you're losing out in like the greater scheme of people buying it. But it's like you're really not going to. You are. I'm not going to lie. You are going to push Xbox sales up if you make it an exclusive, because more and more people nowadays are playing consoles.
Mhm.
And so it's like when you're making these big AAA games, like for instance, you see how much Cyberpunk lost when all the console versions of it just straight up work. And it's like it's Cyberpunk. I can walk in and there are 4 copies of Cyberpunk at my nearest the game store I go to all the time, and they have 4 new copies of Cyberpunk for $10 a piece on the PS4 because it just doesn't fucking work. It doesn't work. So why even fuck with it? Why even buy it? Who was going to sell it? And so it's like even things like that are just a sign of like if you sell something broken, it's broken. And it's like I think that if they were to make the Xbox an exclusive, they would up sales of the Xbox and the up sales of the game for a time. But if they kept it on the Switch and on the PS5 or just whatever, I think that they would increase their long-term sales more than they would get just from limiting it right off the bat.
I can see them doing something like what Call of Duty does with their DLC, where they release it first on Xbox and Windows.
Yeah.
See, if they do that, like, because sometimes that's what they mean by exclusives. Like,
it's like
that's the whole.
That's
All I have to say, that's the whole ordeal. Like, I'm so excited because literally in less than a month, Fallout 7, Final Fantasy 7 remake's coming out on the PC, and that's a quote unquote PS4 exclusive. So like they keep it as an exclusive for a while and then release it to the other game stuff like that. That makes sense too.
Have you
be
played the
honest.
remake yet, Josh?
I have played bits and pieces of the remake, and
Is it
I
any
like
good?
it. I like it, honestly. The combat system to me feels very reminiscent of is it 11? I think it's 11. Look up.
I had been hoping that they were going to remake it in the style of 15, where the combat was going to be like open, like action adventure more instead
Yes,
of turn-based stuff.
it is. I would say 15 and not 11, because 11 was that weird online one.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Final Fantasy 12 kind of gives me some vibes too, almost like the remake of Final Fantasy 12.
Yeah. Because I have PlayStation Plus because I play PlayStation primarily. I have PlayStation Plus and I got Final Fantasy 7 Remake for free as like the free games of the month. So I was thinking about trying it out, but I wasn't sure if it was really worth it. Having played through the whole original one, it's like I don't know if it's worth it to sit through the whole thing again.
Yeah, it's very much modern Final Fantasy. But like it is not a remastered. It is a remake in the complete sense, as in like there's a whole new story type of deal going on.
Yeah.
Like it's actually insane because I remember because I was playing it at my friend's house. And I was playing it, and this thing happened. I was like, "Wait a second, this doesn't happen." He goes, and he's just smiling at me because, like, that was my third Final Fantasy game plan was Final Fantasy 7.
Mhm.
My first one being 3, and then 6 being my second one.
Mine was 10, I think,
10's a good one
with Titus.
Yes.
And I will forever say
I do
Titus
like
and
10.
not Titus.
10 is actually really good. I think 10 gets a bad rap. My least favorite is 13. My least favorite of all time is 13.
Is that the one with lightning?
Yeah, fuck lightning. But yeah, that whole game is just annoying. I don't like it. But
didn't like 13 go on for like 4 games?
Yeah, it did. There was 3 actually. I owned all 3 of them on the PS3 at one point, which was just there's a lot of problems with 13. It's like the thing is like people are like, oh, it has a good story, it has good characters. Like, yeah, it does, but there's just things like, for instance, the mixing, the sound of their footsteps just echoing cacophonously over everything else, no matter where you are or what you're doing in the first game. It is mind-numbing to me. And there's just a lot of really tiny technical issues with 13 that just continue to beat it down in my head and in my experience with it. And the writing to me is trash, but some people argue that it's really good, and I just don't agree. And it's like, we just agree to disagree, but the writing is just bad. I think 15 is half of a good game. It's a really, really fun, awesome experience. Yeah. You're in the car and you're road trip and stuff, but then once it goes back to the Empire is burning and everything's back to hell, and you're just going around fighting, it's like, that's not nearly as fun.
If you look up Final Fantasy 13, one of the first questions is why is Final Fantasy 13 so bad? But then if you look up Final Fantasy 10, one of the questions is why Final Fantasy 10 is the best. So it's
Final Fantasy 6, I think, for me. Final Fantasy 6 or 9 for me. It's top.
See, it's weird for me because it would literally be, if I could just give it to it, it would be the first half of 15 is the best experience I've had with a Final Fantasy game. The road tripping part, and when you're fishing and you're doing all the side quests and then things, it's like, that is so much fun. And it's like, I do wish there had been more story in that element, and I wish that there was more of like I wish that element had continued for much, much longer.
See, yeah, so what was so bad? Because I've heard like the first half very open world and the second half becomes a linear, like typical Final Fantasy. What was so bad about that second half?
The second half itself wasn't bad. Like, it wasn't poorly written or poorly executed. It was more of just, they had created this really, really fun, immersive, engaging experience and then kind of just rip it away from you. And it's like, that in and of itself, if they had implemented it in a way where the story and that element could collide, which I don't really see how they could have, but I'm sure they have a lot of writers at Squeenix, so they probably know what they're doing. So it's like the thing is,
Squeenix.
yeah, Squeenix. So it's like the thing is, if you take that first element and you even just kind of shoehorn the whole rest of the story in while keeping that element, I think the game just vastly improves. So it's like half of 15 is my favorite technically, but actually my all-time favorite Final Fantasy game is Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles on the GameCube.
Mm-hmm. That was good. I'm just saying my personal favorite though, even though I didn't say it as the best. It is my first one that I've ever played, and as such, it just holds a good memory. Final Fantasy 3. Fantastic.
Garbage.
There's one with who is Cecil?
Cecil was 4.
Okay.
That one you start off as a Dark Knight. You're really powerful and stuff, but then as you go through, you realize you don't want to be a Dark Knight anymore because it turns out you're a Dark Knight for a corrupt empire, so you become a paladin. So you start off as so then you basically start off base level 1 and you're weaker than you were, but as you level up, you get immensely stronger.
Yeah. Well, yeah, a lot of games follow that pattern nowadays too, so. But yeah, I think, have either of y'all ever played Rogue Galaxy?
No.
That's a really, really good JRPG. I think it's a JRPG. It might be Korean, but it's on the PS2, and I think it's on the PS4 too, as well as like a on the PS4 store as like a throwback game. That
Yeah.
But it's a really, really, really good JRPG. That's it's a very interesting story. You play like the captain of like a space pirate ship.
I was about to say, I'm looking at some screenshots right now. It most definitely looks like a game I would have loved as a child.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I actually was just thinking about rebuying it on the PS4 store because I haven't played it since I was a kid, but I remembered loving it. It's very similar to Wild Arms too in the combat gameplay. And in fact, also another really, really, really good game that did just actually, I think, have a remake come out like on the PS4 store that I'm actually really hyped for that I haven't messed with yet. Sakura Wars. It's the name of a series that I've
heard of it.
It's like a mix between a dating sim and a mecha game and a JRPG all at the same time. And Sakura Wars has a very similar combat scheme to Rogue Galaxy and to Wild Arms, where it's just a very kind of a high-paced, very damage-oriented, not a lot of and this obviously is speaking from I guess my play style, but it's like from what has worked for me, it's like a lot of high damage, high impact, like very like fast-paced combat for turn-based combat.
I will say another thing too, looking at the Rogue Galaxy brought up another game. Like if you like this game, you'll also might like this game type of deal.
Yeah.
And that was one from my childhood called Dark Cloud.
Oh, I remember Dark Cloud. You were also building. Yeah, you could build the town while you were also Which ironically, that is actually also on the PS4 store as a throwback, but. In fact, Dark Cloud and Dark Cloud 2. I remember Dark Cloud 2 because Dark Cloud 2 I think had like this weird drop-in co-op feature where like another player could like split screen with you as like a follower. I think the sequel had that. I'm looking it up now though because I don't want to give misinformation.
Well, it is 11:48, so I would like to get us into our last segment so both of you can participate.
That's fair.
In our last segment, what are you watching, reading, playing, and listening to? And Zach, since you are the official guest for
let him go
you
first.
Start.
I kind of want to make Josh go first because I feel like the fact that he said let him go first implies he doesn't have an answer right now.
Alrighty, Josh, go first.
Okay, so listening, we've already got that out the way with. I'm not reiterating that.
Yeah, just rewind it.
Nah, those folks, they can watch the VOD.
Well, that's what I'm saying to them. They can just rewind. They'll be fine.
Oh yeah, most stuff. Playing Apex and Valheim with Jacob. We've been doing that.
D&D.
What is? Yeah, D&D. Obviously, I think that just goes without saying. I haven't been playing any really single player games yet. I've been trying to find one to scratch an itch, but haven't really seen anything. Watching a whole bunch. I think me and Jacob counted. We both had like at least 10 animes we were watching.
I had like 15.
Yeah, you had more than me, but both of us had at least 10.
Yeah, it was a lot.
I think for me, the most prominence of those being ReZero, the second part of the second season, Attack on Titan season 4, then the final season, Log Horizon season 3, Doctor Stone season 2, the time I got reincarnated as a slime season 2. What else is there?
Redo of Healing.
Yep. Yeah, that one. That is a weird one. Horimiya, Skate the Infinity. What is it? Mushoku Tensei? Yeah, Mushoku Tensei. That's a good one. And a few others. I can't just think of it. Reading, I just finished reading Ronin Kenshi.
Oh, I remember watching the anime as a kid.
Yeah, I did too, and I've never read it, so I wanted to do that. Right now, I am reading D. Gray Man, another anime I watched as a kid.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
So I'm reading that, and also in terms of reading One Piece, and keeping on that One Piece grind, Jujutsu Kaisen, Black Clover, Blue Exorcist when they decide to release stuff, and a little quaint manga called Spy Family. About this man, it's very it gives off very much like East v West German vibes, Cold War. He is tasked with infiltrating the other side of it's Germany to assassinate this high political leader. But the dude's super paranoid, so there's no way to get in contact with him. However, he has a kid who goes to this school, so they're like, your mission is to create a family so that you can kill this man. And it's just like this little comedy type of deal, because he adopts this kid, and the kid's a telepath, so she can just like read minds and stuff, but she's dumb as a rock. She only gets by reading minds, and then the woman he decides to marry is an assassin for the other country, but he doesn't know that.
No, this looks pretty interesting, actually.
And it's really funny. It has some really adorable moments in it, because even though the kid, she's dumb as a rock. I mean, like, how can you not love a cute, dumb kid,
I'm looking up something, because...
But that's it for me. Your turn.
Oh, me? Oh, shit. Let's see. Let's talk about playing, I guess. Right now, I'm really invested in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I've been putting most of my time into that right now.
Oh, that's really good.
It's very good. It's like if you liked everything that Odyssey made better about all the other Assassin's Creed games, but you didn't like Odyssey, then you would like Valhalla. But it's like the combat flows so much smoother than it did in Odyssey. The your character can be so much more powerful than you can in Odyssey, and there's like a lot more. The story to me is just more engaging, and it's also, I will admit, it's set in a setting which is Britannic or Norwegian Britannia, which is something that I care about a lot, being a Eastern European history major who majored in like Finnish history and stuff. So it's like they weren't necessarily a part of that, but I got a lot of the Norwegian and the Danish history in my lessons. So it's like that's a big part of like my history and what I studied in school and stuff. So that's really interesting to me. So obviously that's definitely like subjective to me. But in general, I've also just probably like a month ago, I beat this game called Vagrant Story on a PlayStation Portable emulator. And it's kind of weird. It's hard to just define. It's like it's just an action RPG, It's very generic. I really don't have a way to describe it. It's just a really generic action RPG where you play as these two characters in this like kingdom, like this ruined kingdom, and that's really. I wish I had a better description of you. Now that I think about it, it was actually a really boring game, but it was actually really fun when I played it. So I'm gonna recommend it if you like action RPGs that are made. I think it's made by Square Enix. In fact, I think it was actually made by Square before they became Square Enix. Back when they were Squaresoft.
Yep.
So I think it was made by Squaresoft. But yeah, it's a very fun game. I highly recommend it. It has like some historical references and stuff, and it takes like architectural references and kind of alchemical writings and stuff out of references that are like true. I believe one of the people who worked on Parasite Eve is involved in it as well, which is another Squaresoft game. So anyway, that's basically what I would say about Vagrant Story. And I wish I had something more eloquent to say about that, but yeah, I'm just getting into that there. But other than that, I've also been playing NHL 21 and Madden 21. I know most of the people who will watch this do not care too deeply about sports games. So all I will say is that if you did not enjoy Madden 20, give Madden 21 a chance. If you did not enjoy NHL 20, NHL 21 is absolutely no different. You will not enjoy it either. That's that they made a lot of changes to Madden 21, and they changed basically nothing except they gave a really fun. I'll say this: if you can get it on sale for like $15 and you like hockey, obviously get Madden or NHL 21 because the story mode in it lets your character be the biggest dick, and that's how you can earn the most money for your character. And then you can use the money in the game to like buy yourself like private jets and like mansions and stuff, and just make your guy like the biggest fucking like douchebag. And it's so funny. It's so funny. I highly recommend it just for that one purpose, that if you like hockey games and you want to play a hockey game, the story mode of that makes it worth playing. I really haven't been reading anything much. I still haven't really learned how to. But I'll tell you, I have been. What the hell? Oh yeah, I've been reading on my phone. I've been reading a PDF for this book called The Mothman Prophecies. That there's actually a really popular movie based on it. Apparently. I've seen the movie a few times. Just never realized it was based on a book. But it takes the cryptid, which I'm very interested in cryptids. It takes the cryptid, the Mothman, but it makes it almost this humanoid alien thing, and it puts it in this light of being like this transcendent being that was trying to like warn people of a disaster. It's very, very, very interesting. And the movie is far better than the book. I've almost finished the book, and I basically know how it ends because it's gone almost identical to the movie so far. Or not, I'm not gonna say almost identical, but it's gone pretty close to the movie so far. And the movie is definitely better than the book, in my personal opinion. So I recommend that. In terms of listening, I've been listening to a lot of Danny Gonzalez, who is a YouTuber I also watch. But I've been listening to a lot of his music. It's all comedy. He has a series running every Halloween where he releases a song that started with Spooky Boy, Spooky Man, or Spooky Boy, Spooky Guy, Spooky Man, and now it's Spooky Ho. And so I'm very excited for his October release of that. I've also been listening to, in fact, I shouted them out the last time I was on the podcast. I'm still listening to Driveways. They're a pop punk band that from Boston that I very, very, very much enjoy. A lot of energy, a lot of spunk, and they have very, very mature lyrics. So I will say that. And I think that, I'm watching F is for Family. I fucking love that show. It is an animated show produced by Vince Vaughn, the actor. And
I love Vince Vaughn.
And it stars Bill Burr, the comedian, as a father of like this 1970s generic suburban house. And it's like a really adult aimed generic sitcom, kind of like not quite like Family Guy because it's far more like there's a lot more cursing and there's a lot more like graphic violence and stuff. But it's like it's definitely. It's a very, very funny look at like just these middle-aged, middle-class people and just how they lose their mind at all these very, very minute and like over the top things sometimes, and it's really funny. It's a very, very good show, and Bill Burr does an excellent job of voicing the father of it. And I actually highly recommend Bill Burr's stand-up. If anybody hasn't watched Bill Burr, he's very, very funny. But I've been watching that. I've been watching Attack on Titan. I have never seen it before. It never really appealed to me, but I decided to start watching it. Me and my girlfriend started watching it together, and we're right in the middle of season 2, I believe.
I will say Attack on Titan for me didn't really start to catch me until season 3. Season 4 has me completely hooked in.
That's fair. But yeah, we're in the middle of season 2, and we really enjoy what we've seen so far. So we'll definitely be still watching that. And then there's a movie that I'm not even going to shout it out because I liked it, because I never saw it, but I'm planning to watch it, called Sputnik. That's a Russian horror film that's available on Hulu. It looks really good. It's like a sci-fi horror alien kind of thing. But I think that more in like the alien is a monster rather than like a thing that gets inside of you and explodes. But so later alien stuff, but it looks really, really good. And I have read nothing but mediocre reviews about it. so my personal opinion is that it looks very interesting. However, don't take that at my actual word, because I'm not saying to watch it. I'm just saying I think it's interesting.
Well,
that sums it up for me.
that is perfect timing, because it is now 12:01, so we can go ahead and call it off here. So is there anything you would like to add before we end the night's session, either one of you?
If you are interested in listening to me play Pathologic at some point in the near couple of weeks, go to youtube.com/CommanderGobblecock. The name will be changing soon, but I gotta get the art for that also isn't it. The art for my podcast and the art for that isn't it, so I can't do anything yet. But anyway, the name will be changing soon, but that doesn't matter. youtube.com/CommanderGobblecock. And then if you are interested in watching the podcast, you can go to my other channels page, and I will link to the Ambergris and ZD podcast, where I will host it with my friend Alicia, starting also hopefully in the next couple of weeks once we get all the art.
Alrighty. What about you, Josh?
Just tune in to Jacob's channel. This channel that you're watching right now, not any other channel. Watch us be completely bad at Apex, or chill with us as we build in Valheim.
So wait, your shout out is the channel
My stuff
that people are watching right now.
I don't do anything with my life.
I mean, just like can people find you on Tinder or something? Like,
no, I don't do online dating. Don't do online dating.
Really? What about Christian Mingle? You're safe on that.
Nah, man, I'm on that farmers only,
Same.
Well, this has been the 41st episode of the PiP podcast. Sadly, we could not have Khalid with us tonight, but hopefully Tuesday he will be back. Thanks a lot to Josh for being the guest co-host,
no problem.
and thanks a lot to Gobblecock for being here as the main guest for tonight.
Thank you for having me.
If you would like to watch a previous podcast, you can find that at Oni Central on youtube.com, or the PiP podcast on youtube.com or Facebook. And if you want to watch us again live, we live stream every Tuesday from 10:30 p.m. to 12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then every other Friday, same time but with a guest. And if you haven't hit the follow button, please hit the follow button, and have a good night.